We are live.
We are live from different parts of the country. Yeah. But we've got one goal in common, and that's to bring a great, it's not even a podcast, is it? Webinar. Is it a webinar? It's not even a webinar, a visual thing that you can also listen to in the background that will help your estate agency excel to new heights. I've got JP, the man who is not growing a beard, people. First thing I noticed, you actually look like you've lost some weight as well.
Well, considering the amount I ate when I was on holiday, I think I have lost a couple of pounds, but yeah. All the steps you do, it's the steps.
Yeah, it's true. And Paul Long, the man that Facebook absolutely adore. He's got Mark Zuckerberg on speed dial. Not many people can say that.
Don't think anyone has.
Yeah.
And yeah. And what are we going to talk about today, lads?
What have you been up to, first of all?
Me?
Yeah.
I've noticed it's got busier the last week. I think estate agents are slowly but surely coming back from their holidays and getting kids back to school and all that sort of stuff. So we've been getting busier. You know what, we're trying to look at a more joined up marketing approach. Took it easy in the summer, I'm not going to lie. Like 6 weeks of... Basically, I was playing the game of digital hide and seek with a lot of clients. Some of them will be watching this and they'll be like, "Where's he gone now?" And it's like, "Oh, he's behind there." I've been trying to do as little as possible in the summer. But now, it was a good summer. What about you guys, anyway?
I was I was over in Disneyland, Mickey Mouse being financially violated. So, to be fair, it was 4.5 years in the making that we booked it way before COVID. Then my mum was going to come, and then Gemma's parents, and then my mum, just getting old, and their parents changed their mind. So it was backwards and forwards. And yeah, we finally went, and it was just brilliant. And it's part of the, I'm going to talk about the customer experience and the customer service. And don't get me wrong, Disney don't get it right all the time. But if they've got an ethos, and in my experience, certainly over the couple of times we've been, and the most recent one was that the experience is just, they make it magical. They play it quite cute, actually. They play it to the kids as well as the parents. So if you've got a kid that's going, "Daddy, please, 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 can I have? And the mum and dad are, go on then, little Timmy or little Susie, whatever, then, yeah, it's just more money in their pocket. Bloody expensive, mind. Very expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
But you're right what you say. I think we spoke about it before, that they're genius when it comes to marketing. I'll never forget when I read something about that they employed a new marketing team, and one of the first things they did was lower the windows in the shops so the kids could see into the shops. So it's just genius little things that they come up with.
And so simple. But isn't that a lesson in thinking like the customer?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like the kid is the consumer, because they'll consume the product and getting a little thing, and the parents are the customer, but they're thinking like the consumer. It's so interesting that that one.
What they also do is they put all the toys, when they've got the doors that are open, all the toys are in the front, so the front of the shop, so the kids see it, and all the t-shirts and stuff at the back.
Yeah.
So it's not an expense thing. Like in most shops over here, they put the expensive thing at the back. So if you're going to shoplift it, where I'm from anyway, you've got to go at the back and go forward. It's not that. They put the cuddly toys in. Oh, I can have a Mickey Mouse or a Goofy or a Donald Duck or whatever. But
and Gemma's like, "No, you can't, JP. You're 46.
You've already got the full set, John. You're not allowed another one."
That's something. No, we're not talking about this today, but I think that's something which perhaps agents, do they really, really know their clients? Really know them. Who is the decision maker? Who is their main audience that they attract, and the main properties they sell? I don't think many agents do sit down and really look at that data.
No, I mean, it's called, in tech, they call it an ICP, ideal customer profile or persona. And we had to sit down at a very, very early stage, and it was agents who value tech and prospecting. So you've got to value tech to use with us, and you've got to prospect. It's the same in you've almost in agency got to boil it down to a name of a person and what kind of car they drive, and what their aspirations are and how long. And it sounds like, really, do I give a shit if they drive a BMW? Well, yeah, because it's the income bracket they're in.
Yeah.
And
What they read as well is a big one, like
Yeah.
newspaper or website.
And visually as well, you know, just creating those sort of marketing documents. And if you put in those sort of graphics on those documents, it's just going to track them from the start.
But I think a good reason for that is, you know, how at the minute it's kind of died a death a little bit, but everybody was probably about 6 months to a year and a half ago, everybody wanted to be the high-end agent and charge like 1,000,000% and do drone photography and, you know, think they were awesome, and self-employed agents and all this crap. And I remember putting an article on agency growth strategies, and it was a case of not everybody is suited to it. Not everybody can speak that language, understand it. There's a reason why high-end agents, when you have a conversation with somebody of high net worth individual, you know, you've got to be able to talk on their level. You've got to talk about the various gentlemen's clubs you belong to, or the watches you've got, or the lovely places around the world you visited, because that's how you build rapport. But it's the same in this agency. If I've never sold a 2, 3, 4 million pound house before, and there's only 3 or 4 in my area, why the hell do I want to get into that? You know, it sorts out the marketing as well. If my market, there's a good agent, Emma Roberts, who I coach, really good agent, and her market is just middle of the road. She doesn't do the high stuff, she doesn't do the low stuff, she's just literally just middle of the road, and she's market leader, and she's absolutely fine with that. She has got no aspirations of selling £750,000 million quid properties, because that's not her and that's not her area. But I think we've been sold a little bit of dangled the carrot with the various courses, and, you know, people doing very well in their areas because their areas are suited to it. It's a little bit like somebody saying the results I'm getting from a gym program and say, I want your exact gym program, JP, because it's working for you, therefore it has to work for me, without understanding my age, my goals, my plans, my dietary restrictions or requirements, the time I've got to train, injuries that make me allowed to train at this. And so you've got to be very specific to your area and almost build the environment, build a business to your environment rather than somebody else's.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I see that trend as well for the go after the higher end stuff. It's amazing. It reminds me sometimes that it's just like you're working in Armani, you're selling the same thing as somebody in Primark in a way. It's a t-shirt, but it's just a bit jazzed up. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I'm a bit cynical today. So I haven't had lunch. I could clap.
Run down.
Anyway, go on, Paul. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about AI, and we've been working with AI quite a bit now, and something that was shown me a while ago from agents in America, actually, where they're actually cloning themselves with AI so that their content or responses or results don't just sound like everyone else's. And this process, I think it's been around for a while, but what we are seeing is the process where you can create a document, which is pretty much my business explained document, which you give to any AI tool like ChatGPT before you start using it. And that pretty much runs through things like, you know, your core missions, your primary service, target audience, all the in-depth stuff. So it takes a bit of a while to create, first of all, but once you've got this document and you give it to something like ChatGPT, then really it makes it so much easier to use those systems because it's got all the information that it needs before you carry out the process. Results have been really, really good. And it takes a little bit of while to create that document, first of all, but you can get ChatGPT to help you to create it. You know, that is something you can do as well. And then you can just update it when, you know, anything changes in your business. But the other thing that we have seen is also providing something called a speech pattern document. And this is really where it gets really interesting, where you can give AI tools pretty much examples of how you sound, how you write, what you create. So transcribing videos, for example, and putting them into a document and providing that will allow tools like ChatGPT to really start creating content that sounds like you. So that's what we've been doing. And what I'm trying to say is that the standard AI responses don't have to be that way. You can really start making it sound like you.
Is this you, or is it an AI robot we're talking to?
Well, that's down to you to find out.
I think it's you. There's no robot on Earth that could have that wonderful smile that brings joy to the world.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, so fun stuff.
Very interesting.
With AI.
You know what we did the other day, right? Because I was analysing and this is just a general tip for everyone who's doing email marketing. Get rid of anyone that's not opened your email for 3 months. It makes such a huge difference to your open rate, and that makes a difference to the deliverability, I'm told. So we did that, right? And then I was thinking, I wonder how our open rate stacks up against other industries and all that. Jumped on ChatGPT, paid version, 20 quid a month, whatever it is. Uploaded the spreadsheet that Carmen, our VA, had done with all the different open rates of the different emails we send out in different parts of the week and month. And within seconds, the report was saying, right, so against this industry, you score here. Against your industry, you score here. We scored highly for the estate agent marketing industry. But, all those tools are there. And it's funny because I'm going to a conference on Monday and Tuesday up in Birmingham. And I know that they'll be talking, that last year they talked about AI. And this year they're going to be doing the same. It's not an estate agency conference because I find all them wank. I ain't even going to lie. I ain't going to those. They're everywhere now, estate agency conferences. You turn around, you go, oh, look, there's one there. It's just like, it's like Starbucks in New York. Do you know what I mean? They're everywhere. But yeah, that was just my little email tip.
No,
it's totally true, because again, people say, like, we had quite a large database at one point, but then people weren't engaging, businesses got sold, whatever. And then you look, your open rates go down. MailChimp and we were using Infusionsoft or Keep at the time, and it doesn't push it out. So, right, we'll get rid of them. Well, you're not getting rid of them. You're not getting rid of active customers. You're getting rid of people who didn't want to use your services anyway. But if you're constantly got some sort of lead gen out there anyway, they will come back around and they'll come back on your database anyway. There's only so many estate agents in the UK. So long as you've always got something ready to get them back on the email, but this time, hopefully you can give them more appropriate content that they enjoy, and then they don't unsubscribe, or they don't sell the business. So I totally agree with you, Jerry. I think it's a good move.
It's funny you say unsubscribe, because I'll never forget when this is about 4 years ago, and an estate agent said, I don't want to send out emails. I was like, well, why? Like, with helpful content. It was a lettings agency. And I said, why? And he went, well, they might unsubscribe, and then I've lost them. But I said, what's your open rate? His open rate was shocking. And I sort of said to him, well, no, get them to unsubscribe. Almost have an email saying, please unsubscribe at the top if you don't want us to bother you. And I think that's, when I took a couple of weeks off in June, I did notice I unsubscribed loads. I was almost going to unsubscribe from YouTube as well, and I thought, might piss him off a bit. But I read yours sometimes. But so many businesses make it really hard to unsubscribe. So the minute I'm sort of going, oh, where, how do I unsubscribe? I think the really good businesses just make it clear, because they're confident. You want to unsubscribe, no problem. We won't take it personally. But some businesses, you click on it and they make you go, like, do you want to unsubscribe from this and this and this, or everything? Just unsubscribe.
Yeah.
And that would be my take. Just let them unsubscribe, because then they're not leaving with any negative taste in their mouth.
You don't want people not to leave because you make it difficult, because there's not a chance in the planet, this world, they're going to come back to you ever again.
Exactly. You want them to stay because your content is useful. Like your weekly tip, that sort of thing. Nice, easily digestible. Do you know what I mean? And I've noticed that you've been saying, like, this is a 2-minute read, this is a 1-minute watch. All that sort of stuff is going to encourage someone in the subject line to think, I've got a minute, I'll have a quick look at this.
Yeah.
This is a 1-minute watch. Is it the robot poll or the real poll?
Good. So then, you finished on the AI stuff, Paul, or do you want to sort of elaborate on that?
No, that's covered. You fire ahead.
Go on. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go next, Jerry, on your bit?
No, yours is much more exciting. I'm actually.
I wouldn't talk about that. So there's two things I want to talk about. One is customer experience. Obviously, come back from Disney in Florida, and you know how the Yanks are. Have a nice day now. And the next thing is integrity in a state agency. Sometimes lacking, other times not. But I think there's some quick, easy wins and easy fixes. So the first thing, customer experience. Absolutely blown away by the customer service and experience we received at 95% of restaurants and places. Now, it's not the old thing that you see on the TV where you think it's fake or it's forced or whatever. It was incredibly genuine. It was honest. The way that, and again, I've been to some countries, and I'm generalizing, like your Turkeys or your Egypts, where they make a fuss of the kids and forget you, knowing on purpose that, you know, the kids are going, oh, can I have this little shitty little thing or whatever? But over in America, it was genuine, and it was equally sort of dispensed amongst the kids and me and Gemma. And I just think that we can learn an awful lot by that. I've seen and experienced customer service over here where as soon as you say no, or you'll make it obvious that you're not interested, you are genuinely dead to them, and they cannot get off the phone quick enough. They just can't. And you can just, you hear the face change. Yeah. Right, well, okay, see you later then, and then they're off. I mean, I've had it where people have been rude on the phone, and I've said, look, I'm not interested. And they've said, well, F off then, or pick off then. Genuinely, I've had it. So if I phone them up and said, I want that call, you know, listened to, that will have the person who outbound called me telling me to F off or taking the piss out my accent or whatever. So, I just think that when we're over there, it was just such a refreshing change. And it was, obviously, I'm in, you know, customer service, all the businesses I've ever had, and Gemma kind of works in the same industry because she works for a large call center. So we noticed it, and we were having conversations about who was the best and who was this, and oh, this is why. And I think it's a fundamental failing of this industry where customer service and customer experience training is not prevalent. It never gets talked about on the forums. I mean, I mention it every now and again. I never see anybody ever mention it. What is good customer service? What is the experience? I mean, we spoke about with the perfect market appraisal and all that sort of stuff. It shouldn't just be one process or one procedure. It should be across everything in your business. How can I wow the customer?
Why do you think the Americans get it done so well?
Do you know? I think it's a culture thing over there. I think tipping is a big thing. And what's the saying? It's not a town in China. Tipping is a real thing, and because it's 18 to 20, 25%, and it depends on which business you work for. You get as a person, you get a lot of that, and it's unfortunately, this is a part of it I didn't like. It is quite expected. You know, I did see a couple getting into quite a heated conversation. I think they were German or French or something like that, where they didn't tip, and the server or the waitress was quite, oh, this is something I did wrong. Oh yeah, we just don't tip. You don't tip, it's expected. Well, not in my country. Well, you're not in your country, you're in my country. And it got a little bit weird like that. I just think it's a culture thing. I think it's everything. It's a case of, well, it's how you start a trend. It's how you start a culture. If you've got half a dozen people and then one person who's given absolutely exemplary customer service, and then one person comes in, it self-polices. That person won't last 2 minutes, but you need a good half a dozen or so people in a sports team or a business or whatever to set the standards. Yeah. You look at any professional good sports team, they've got standards and almost self-polices. You listen to the rugby team. You know, Clive Woodward talked about the leadership roles. Yeah, the guy who in 2003 took us to the World Cup and where we won. And he talks about where he set the leadership rules, and it was basically standards. And he said to Martin Johnson, who was the captain at the time, you set your own standards with the team and I'll back you to the hilt. Then they had one where apparently everybody was late all the time. It was just because we just got a professional era. People weren't getting paid 18 months before, and then now all of a sudden you're on centralised contracts playing for your country leading up to the World Cup. And Martin Johnson said, if you're 5 minutes early, you're late. You've got to get there on like bang on time, i.e. 10, 15 minutes early, ready, not, you know, having a cigarette or talking about the weather or putting your boots on, ready to train 5 to 10 minutes before we're meant to be, or fully warmed up. And I think if you set those minimum standards of what is expected, and you get the right people who are not afraid to stand up to people who don't perform to those standards. I think that's another thing, is when you've got a team of people and someone doesn't perform to that minimum standard and the other 4 or 5 just turn a blind eye or turn away, then that's saying to that person that's acceptable. And then that's like a kind of downward spiral.
So getting the basics right and the standards.
Yeah, and almost understanding what the experience is. Customer service is part of the experience. Customer service, I've spoke about this before, is where you drop a fork in a restaurant and how quickly they pick it up. Customer service is how long you're on hold when you're phoning up to get your utilities changed. That's service. The experience is how you come off the phone, how it made you feel. Will you remember them? I think great customer experience, a good indicator of if you had a good customer experience is, are you telling somebody else about it? If you're telling somebody else about an experience you had, then that worked. If you're not, then it wasn't good enough, and you've got to wow them. There's a guy, forgetting his name. I've got a good book. It's called 5-Star Customer Service, and he talks.
Yeah, I've got that book. Yeah,
Heslop or Heppel? Michael Heppel. Yeah. I interviewed him on my podcast a couple of years ago. He's a really nice guy, and he talks about so what moments and wow moments. Try and have as many wow moments as you possibly can. So what does everybody else do? And what do I do to make that customers go, wow, I've never had that before, or wow, that's a bit special. From what you say to how you act to everything in between.
It's so interesting that, because I went for a walk yesterday, right, by a reservoir near us with the dog. And from a distance, there are all these geese. Right, and there's one. I've got a photo. I'll send you the photo, because I stopped and took a photo of it, because I thought, wow, that there's almost a message here. There was a swan, right, but it stood out a mile, and it made me think. Remember what Seth Godin's Purple Cow?
Yeah,
it has to be visually different,
yeah,
or not visually. I'm not saying you have to look different to stand out, but you have to do something that really makes people go. And I took a photo of it. Do you know what I mean? I took the photo of this one. I thought, that really is a wow moment. I know we spoke. It's interesting because we spoke about this topic before a few times.
We did, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I still think. I think there's room for all UK businesses.
Yeah,
totally agree. Anything that you do, like the follow-up process. How many agents have a follow-up process once the house has been sold? Like literally, they just sell it. You hand the keys over. You send, you get a photograph. You bung it on social media. You might send them like a welcome box. That is literally it for 99% of agents.
Yeah.
But
there are some smarter ones who will send birthday cards or anniversary cards to say, "Has it been 1 year in your house?" And
yeah, home anniversaries. But they are few, very, very few and far between. But it's such an obvious way. But sending an anniversary card or a birthday card, it's all right. Let's be honest. Is it a wow moment? Probably not. But it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's not. Do it, because if you're on that 1%, you've got an advantage over the other 99. But and again, it's not like I've got a birthday card, I'm going to give it to Jerry Lyons, sales and lettings. But that plus this gives the whole experience where you go, they weren't just one thing. What did they do better? No one's going to say, well, I used them because they sent us a birthday card. But what they're going to do is, well, I used them because they set an update and they did this and they did that and the birthday card, and I got the keys made and they put balloons around it when I opened it. And then I got a nice, I think was it Ian's story? Somebody I first saw it did a watercolor painting of the property and the dates they moved. All those little things added up together. Put a budget on it, but include that in your pricing strategy. Put say, right, I'll spend an additional 200 quid per sale, but it's only one to complete. So again, but instead of charging £3,000, I'll charge 3,250 quid or whatever it is. So it's customer experience is massively important in anything you do. You'll have done it when you went on the cruise, Paul. When you spend money, the experience you get is second to none.
What it was, anyone who's been on a cruise knows how expensive it can be, and until you get on the cruise and you start realizing that the service is very, very good. And then also the one thing, you know, we're talking about service here, but the one thing on the cruise was that though the service was at a high level, there was an even higher level if you wanted it with premium service. So it just shows that people want that there are certain percentage of people who want that premium service, but also want that high service.
Yeah.
So it definitely is important service.
There's always people prepared to pay for things.
Yeah.
You know, if that's your market, like using, you know, if you're low to mid tier, then yeah, you might not have as many upsells, but you'll still have upsells, guaranteed.
Yeah.
100%. You know, you just look at your competition. What do they offer? Can you offer something slightly more like, I don't know, Matterport 2 or, you know, presenter-led videos or whatever it is, but you can always upsell.
You know what's interesting as well, because I've seen it chatted about in one of the WhatsApp groups, is, you know, like when somebody is selling a property, but they're also kind of informally representing their client to buy their next property. So they advise them, and like a few of my guys, they'll say, well, I'll have chats with the other agent and say, right, what's this property like? What's the chain like? That's a service. I mean, I'd pay for that. If I could use an agent to not just sell my house, but also help me buy a next one, you know? And it's funny because we had a little spell where we were thinking about, oh, did we move, you know, like one last move before we go to the big pub in the sky? And I'm amazed because I had to look at Rightmove properly. And this is not cheap properties. These are like 700 and above, 700 to 850 sort of properties. That's quite standard around here. That ain't even amazing. That'll get you a good gaff, but not an amazing one. But the photography on some of them was like, oh my God, what is this about? I'm talking about unmade beds on properties like that. And just like really piss poor marketing. I mean, for that price point, you should at least have, it's got to be like, you know, like the likes of, I know we mentioned them already, but like an Ian Story type marketing offer.
But it's standards, isn't it? It's literally basic standards.
It's shocking.
And how you do the little things is how you do everything.
Yeah, you know, that's probably why I've sort of not succeeded at life, to be honest.
I don't know, mate. You're not doing bad. But, you know, like integrity kind of sort of swings onto that, you know, calling people back when you said you will. Reading WhatsApp messages or reading Facebook messages and not coming back, it's piss poor perform. And you can only use "I'm busy" so many times before people say no. It's inherent. It's not that you're busy 24/7, 365. You're just frigging rude, or you're unorganized, or, you know, the worst thing is people when they answer the phone. And I have been guilty of this in the past. Hello, oh, it's Jerry. I'm just on the other line, mate. Can I phone you back? What you'd be saying is, I was listening. I was waiting to see if this call was more important than what I was currently on. I found out it was only you, Jerry. No, it's not. I'll call you back later.
You have done that to me loads of times.
Oh, every day, mate. Every day I'll say that to you.
I've got a quote for you, right? It's a thing my old man always used to say to me before he died. I grew up thinking it. He said, always, and I say it to Charlotte, always behave in a way that means you're welcome back.
Love that.
Yeah. Always behave in a way that means you're welcome back. And then he'd say to me, listen, if you don't want to go back, fuck them. He literally would say that. He'd be like, clear. You don't have to kowtow to people. But I mean, there's people that have left our club that I wouldn't have back because of the way they did it. I just wouldn't have them back. I'd be losing money, but you just don't want them back. Others, welcome back with open arms. Oh, great to have you back. You know, delighted to have you back.
Yeah, it's the same. It's people we've done demos for, or we've spoken to about coming on as Prospect the Pro, and they've not behaved in a certain. I wouldn't want to deal with them. It's like, you know, part of our non-negotiables is no dickheads. We literally don't want to work with dickheads, you know. And I think it's important that you have those standards in your club, in your Facebook, in my coaching, in the Prospect the Pro, whatever it is, where you don't work with people who you don't generally gel with or like. You don't have to like people, because in order to like someone, you've got to get to know them.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know everybody, and not everybody knows me, and I get that, and that's not a bad thing. But if someone actually you just don't get on with, then just don't waste your time, energy, and effort trying to work with them.
That's interesting, Paul. Do you ever? Because I know you've definitely had it, JP, with that, and I've had it. Have you ever had clients that you've worked with that you thought, no, you're too much grief? Because I hear that conversation a lot from agents, that this landlords in particular.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know why, but it might be because I'm getting older, but I would say literally in 60 seconds, I know if I want to work with someone or if I don't. You know, I think I never used to look at it that way, and I do think perhaps the way everything is now, we do make decisions a lot quicker. But yeah, no, I really do think, I think this is where it's hard for agents, because people do make decisions so quickly, and what, like you said, with standards, what they've seen and heard in the past, even before they speak to that agent, has a big impact. But yeah, to answer your question, definitely, there's been a few occasions where I just think there's no point, you know, it's got to work for both of us.
Yeah. Are you, this is just a personal thing, and you know, are you blunt enough to say, look, we're not going to work together because you're a dick? Or do you turn around and go, you just price them out the market?
Price them out is what I do. Because normally that sort of person is a cheapskate, or they want far more than, I've had people go, oh, I'll give you X amount for that content. No, you won't, mate. You'll give us what it's worth. Don't you dictate the terms to us. But do you know, I think one of the worst indicators how a relationship's going to go in business sometimes is one of their first questions is, how much? Yeah. So it's like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, how much is it going to cost? Because they haven't allowed you to say you're going to get X, Y, Z. I think real wise people will find out what you're going to get for the money. Don't get me wrong, you have to be in the budget. So I get that. But in the past, when we sort of not gelled with people, they've normally sort of gone in saying how much and wanting a discount straight away. Do you know what I mean? Is this what I love about the high-end car showrooms? You know, you walk in and ask for a discount in there, they're going to go,
laugh at you. Yeah.
It's got to be a fit, hasn't it, for both sides? And I think that's where some businesses are different. They just hit pound signs and just want to, you know, grab every single person. But for me, that's one of the things that I do. I think there's a lot of businesses that do this, is that they want that initial conversation, not to grab the business, but to see if it's a fit, you know, to see if what we offer is going to benefit that person.
Well, what we do, we've got a process. It's called a discovery call. So a disco call, and you effectively try and find out what the pain points are, find out if it's a good fit. So we, excuse me. So like I said, our ICP is tech-enabled agents who value prospecting. So, you know, we've had a couple of conversations with agents who don't prospect, right? So if you don't prospect, what we provide is no good for you. Then we've got another couple who are like market leaders and they love prospecting, but it's more like knocking on doors, and they're not very techy. They're on an old CRM system. Again, they're not for us. And you're thinking, you know, that's a shame, because you've got 4 or 5 branches and it could have been worth a few quid. But then it's more hassle than it's worth. Because they're not going to get it. They're going to be, especially the ones who don't. So the two ones, if you don't like prospecting, your usage is going to be shit. So when it comes to renewing, you're not going to renew it, and it's a bit of taste in your mouth. And another one is, if you're not very techy, you're always going to be on the phone to our CSMs, the office, going, what button do I press again? And why is it logged me out? And you're like, oh, fuck. And then it's the same with agents. If you don't, motivation, the biggest thing when selling or renting a property is, are they motivated? Mm-hmm. You know, if they're motivated, you can deal with the price. You can almost deal with them with a little bit, not in your face, but a little bit, what's the word? Sort of admin heavy. They require a handhold and they require a lot of your attention, but they've got to want to sell the property. And I think people just want to, they're served by listings more than actual motivated sellers.
No, I agree. So it's been 33 minutes into the podcast with numerous names. It's almost like this podcast has got schizophrenia. Different characters. Different names. But right, because it's September, the kids have gone back to school. I think it's really interesting now, because of the change in the weather is going to happen. It's going to get darker. It's going to get colder. It's going to get more miserable. How are you protecting your health in this next quarter? I've had people, like I've had meetings last week, people saying, this is my plans for the quarter. And it's really interesting. And one of them said to me, and I've also got a health plan. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that, you know.
Yeah. So what are you doing then?
I've been working out quite a lot. I've been getting into weightlifting, because obviously getting older and reading about muscle mass and all that. And it's just Peloton and that. But it's interesting how one domino hits another domino. And you think, now I've started getting interested. I spoke with a nutritionist last week for a Zoom interview that I'm going to share. and just some of the things she was saying, you know, and like, I'll give you a little snippet. Like, I said to her, how can estate agent offices or offices in general encourage healthy eating? Because she's a nutritionist. She said, make filtered water accessible. Make sure your team are drinking water 6 to 8 cups a day if you can. Just make it and have it easier to pick up on. Ditch the biscuit tin because of the sugar slump and all that. And she went into detail about that. And just make easy like habits, and something I've been talking about recently, habits easier to adapt and pick up this sort of thing. So
no idea that.
So are you still working out and all that?
Yeah, I had about 3 or 4 sessions in the first week when I was over there, and I didn't do anything for the rest of the holiday. I think I did 5. I did 5 sessions and then bugger all. I've played cricket twice since I've come back, and I've got another game. The season ends this Saturday, but I've already got like targets for next season, like what I want to do and weight I want to drop and stuff. I'm very much a target-driven sort of a fella, so as long as I've got a target, number, weight, whatever it is, I should be all right.
What about you, Paolo?
Yeah, no, I've got a fitness trainer, which is the only way for me personally that it works, because it's in the diary and I'm accountable to someone.
Do you go to him, or does he come to you?
No, I go. So luckily, I'm only 10 minutes, 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk to the gym. So no excuses. But you know, for years I've sort of just on and off, and I'd always put my work before my health. And I think that's so easy to do because you feel guilty. But I've got to the stage now where I've managed to get them that fitness should be more important, but they're at least equal. So if it's in the diary, it's like an appointment. It's a business investment in myself. So it costs me a lot of money, but it forces me to go.
What a great way of putting it, because it is an investment. Because if you show up and you're knackered, or you've been eating shite for however God knows long, or you're hungover, you're not going to perform in your business anywhere near as good as you can as if you just come from the gym or drank loads of water, had a good night's kip. It is an investment. It's 100% investment.
Yeah, and do you know what? Do you know what else it does? Very quickly, what it also does, because I was worried about losing that hour and a half of time, but what it does do is, if I'm having a long day, it resets myself, and when I come back, I'm more productive. So
isn't that the mad thing, that you can go into an exercise session tired and leave refreshed? Like more energy. So you go, no, can't be asked for this. Do it for 45 minutes, and you're like, I'm ready to go again. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And get a standing desk. That's my tip for everyone. Get a standing desk.
I'll tell you what else it does when you train. It stops you thinking about work. So it's that hour off where you're getting absolutely beasted. I've genuinely tried to think about work or try to think about stuff going on when I'm playing sport, and you can't. It's the same with the ice bath. I've tried to think about something's going wrong with one of the houses or work or family or whatever. You're sitting there, you're going to think about the shit. All of a sudden, because of the ice water and stuff, you're like, and your mind just goes nothingness. And when I used to have a strength and conditioning coach, it was the same thing. You physically cannot think about anything else. When he's screaming in the air, calling you all the names under the sun, saying, pick up that weight and run with it. It gives you that hour and a half where work is the last thing of your mind.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a great note to finish on. Stay healthy, people. Stay happy, and go to Disneyland and have cruises.
See everyone.
Thanks, everyone.